Hi, my name is Carrie. I'm an artist and an educator. Something I've discovered through my years of teaching, doesn't matter what age it is, that at some point we start to feel like there's a right or wrong way to create. And I've noticed that as we get older, our willingness to take risks, to try new things, perhaps like improving our skills in art, becomes more and more threatening, so fewer and fewer people push through the hard parts and celebrate that risk-taking as something playful and fun. We see it as if we take a risk and we're not doing it well from the beginning, then it's something we shouldn't explore any further. And there's so many reasons that I have a problem with this, but the largest one is people who do this still have a desire to create, and we're not giving them the space or support to make room for the trial and error that comes with making art. And it's through that trial and error that we make skillful and interesting art. There's actually research by Dr. Stuart Brown who found that when he interviewed violent criminals, that they all shared a common childhood without play. Play is an important and integral part of our lives, and even as adults, we need to make room for this opportunity. And that's one reason I think that altered books are such a wonderful, joyful, playful experience for people of all ages. I'd like to spend a little time with you discussing the different benefits of working in altered books, if you have an interest in the arts, as well as how you go about choosing what book to work in when you begin creating an altered book. So let's get started. So in this mini workshop today, we are going to discuss the benefits of altered books and how to go about choosing a book to use as your substrate. The first question we have around this is, what are the actual benefits of creating with altered books using this artist medium? And there's a couple questions that come up when you're discussing benefits. The first one is, are you a beginner? If you identify yourself as a beginner artist, someone who doesn't know a lot of different art techniques and has not been exposed to lots of different artist materials, then Altered Books gives you a chance to explore in a space where there is no right or wrong. This isn't about copying a photograph or looking at an image and being able to portray it exactly as you see it. It's not about drawing from life and looking at someone right in front of you and trying to capture their likeness on a piece of paper. That can create a lot of pressure, and it's a really tall order to ask someone who's new to the arts. You build your skill over time. So Altered Books give you a space where you don't feel like there's a right or wrong, and you can still explore different techniques and skills. You can also then explore different media. You can have a multitude of different materials to work with. So you might like working with watercolors and acrylics and ink, and then draw into it with some kind of oil pastel. That's entirely up to you, and you'll get to trial all of these materials and decide which media best suit you and your interests. And then that helps you decide which skills and which techniques to learn and refine. This is also important in terms of perfectionism. If you identify with that word, you know that you see the world in a way where there's a right or wrong way to do things, like I mentioned in the first bullet. Or you have a lot of inner judgment of yourself because you're not doing it well straight away. And yet the only way to improve in the arts is to make bad art, to make things that are ugly, or to explore things that you've never used before. And when we try something new, we're never going to be the best at it. The only way to get better is to explore and to try ideas out. And that's one reason Altered Books are such a great space to do that, especially for perfectionists, because again, there's no right or wrong way. There's no specific strategy you have to use. You get to let your intuition guide you, and you get to play. And when we play, we learn so much from our art, and actually from ourselves too. The other way I see Altered Books being a huge benefit is it helps us cope with our inner critic. The The inner critic is this quiet, or maybe not so quiet, voice inside our head that's telling us that we're not good enough, or that the work that we're making is crap, or that we could always improve and there's always something wrong. It's always looking for the things that need to be fixed, or how to protect us from possible criticism from others. Because of this, sometimes we feel like there's one way to create, that we have to do things in a specific order or with specific strategies. And because Altered Books is a mixed media experience, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to. You can see on the image to your right, that's a piece that I was exploring. I cut out that image from one page in a book and then decided to outline it and play and keep certain words of the book showing through. I just was playing around and decided that looks kind of fun and I'm going to see where it leads me. I didn't have this big game plan from the beginning. So it's a great way to explore ideas and discover, and it's hard for your critic to fight or argue against that because it's all about play. And that's what I want for you. If you want to have a freedom to play and explore, which by the way is the way we learn specific techniques to improve our skill, then it's, again, your inner critic can still come out and you'll always have it. That's a natural part of being an artist. However, you have a space then to kind of loosen up and go, hey, I don't have a specific game plan. I'm not trying to copy this photo exactly the way it is. So I'm just going to let loose in here, and I'm giving myself permission to do that. The other way I see Altered Books being a great way to get started in exploring the arts is you're not starting on a blank page. I know a lot of people, even professional artists, who sometimes feel intimidated by a blank canvas or fresh blank paper. What do I make for my first mark? And it better be worthy and valuable and special. Well, if you're already working on a surface that you've painted on and set up and prepped and has words all over it, well, it kind of removes that preciousness of the material from the way you're looking at your art. And so you have this freedom then, again, this freedom to play, and you don't have this pressure that every mark I make on this paper must be perfect. If you are already an Altered Book artist, I would actually love to know what other benefits you find by creating in Altered Books. Please share it in the comments below this video. Let's compile an ever-growing resource of the many benefits of working in a mixed media altered book. So now we've talked about some benefits. Let's consider how to choose the right book. And I put the word right in in quotations, because I want you to realize that, again, there's no right or wrong way, and there's nothing that has to be perfect in this journey with Altered Books. So the first thing I think you should consider is the size of your book. I like the idea of working small. The very first book I used was really big, and it had a huge number of pages, and so that was really overwhelming to me. So finding a book with fewer pages, or just that the size of the pages are smaller, kind of like this one in the photo, I like that size, that can be less intimidating to start with. And in the next video, you'll see two of the books that I've recently selected to work in as Altered Books, so it'll give you a sense of how, what I've decided now since I've tried a couple books and explored the media. It's made me realize that I want a smaller book, and I'd like fewer pages in it, because I have so much pressure on myself to finish every single page if it's a huge book. Well, that's going to take me a really long time, and I'm not sure that suits my nature. So you got to figure out what's right for you. So the size of your book can be really important. Here you can see one of the first books I was playing in. I did a self-portrait piece and kind of working with Frida Kahlo as well, and you can see that the book's pretty thick and big, and so that could be intimidating. Or if you have so many ideas you don't know what to do with, well, then that could just be a whole bunch of opportunity. So ask yourself what feels exciting, and when you go to a used bookstore or a thrift store, or dig through books in your home, see if anything sparks interest or an idea or inspiration. The theme of the book can also be important to your altered book. There's a couple ways to do altered books. You could grab any book you want and explore any ideas you want on every single page, or you could have a larger theme that encompasses your whole book. So one of the very first altered books that I started playing with, and you see an example of it on the right, is a romance novel. And so for me, this one, the content of the book was driving the meaning of my altered book pages. So you see an altered book page in progress here. I was finding all these images of the over-the-top romance novel covers that I could find. And I was cutting them out and collaging them into this book and keeping certain sentences out and visible because I think they're funny. And I wanted to make it kind of a parody of all of these romance novels. So because that was a larger goal, it was driving artistic choices within the book. And it was driving the imagery that I was looking for and collaging. So it's up to you, right? Perhaps you want to travel the world and you want to have a book where you get to document every city that you go to and you have a 2-page spread for every city. Well, then obviously that if you know ahead of time that that's something you want to do and you want to use that book for that experience, then why not find a book that's about travel or find a book of maps? You find something that really relates to the content you're already thinking about. Now, this is not a must-do. This is an option. Your other choice is to play and just know that it's a sketchbook exploratory space for you to try different ideas out. Here's another 2-page spread that I was working on for that romance novel one. I had cut out those figures. A lot of people don't realize it, but if you look carefully, there's a man coming out of the inside of a washer or dryer. So clearly something's not quite right there, but no one seems to know because I integrated the image pretty well. And I like this idea of this couple kissing in this bizarre place and taking a quote from the book itself to integrate into the visual. So it's up to you if you want to have a specific theme or if you want to have that freedom to just explore many different ideas. You know what you're going to like best, so listen and trust your intuition. My third consideration for you is the binding of the book. So do you want a hardcover or softcover book? I will tell you that if you work with a softcover book, it's totally possible, but you're going to need to make sure that you do extra support of the binding as you prepare the pages. And that's something we can talk about in the next video when I do a demonstration about setting up your book to start making in. There's some steps that we take before we start painting directly in the book or collaging in it, and kind of adding extra support to the pages you keep in the book will be really important, especially if you're using a softcover book. Most artists that I've spoken to who are more experienced altered book artists tell me that they enjoy working in hardcovers because the bindings are a bit stronger and they like the sturdiness of the outer cover. The other thing you can consider is the texture and quality of your paper. So you might want to work in a magazine, and that's totally okay. You might like the glossy pages of a magazine and want to play with that. Now, glossy paper is not going to absorb the paint as easily as kind of the more regular reading paper of a novel, like the romance novel pages you were looking at earlier in my examples. So you've got to decide what you want to work on and what you want to explore. If you want to do a lot of cutout work, pages that are a little bit thicker might help support cutting out and creating the stencils that you do within the pages of your altered book. But again, you can use any paper and any book you want. And if you're entirely brand new to altered books, don't feel a lot of pressure to go, to make one decision that again has to be just perfect. This is about you having fun. Find a book that you don't mind kind of drawing in and tearing up, and that can be your book, and you'll learn what you like. If you find passion in this activity and want to keep exploring the medium of altered books, you can make as many different choices as you like. You have all the time in the world. I like this image because it shows you the variety of kind of sizes of books and scale and magazines and hardcover and softcover. So there's all kinds of different books you could find, and the binding is one of those considerations. Now I have a question for you. Do you have any further questions about altered books, other benefits that you see from doing it, or questions about skill building, or further questions about how to choose a book to use for your altered book? Please ask those questions in the comments below this video. I am happy to start that dialogue with you and answer any questions you have. And if you think someone else could benefit from this video series, please encourage them to use the link below this video to sign up and join us so that they can also benefit from this altered book activity. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.